Welcome back to XRP on Moon, the channel where we break down every ripple in the XRP ecosystem. Today, we are diving deep into what could be XRP's biggest month yet, May 2026. If you've been watching the crypto markets, you know that XRP has a history of making explosive moves when certain catalysts align. But this May feels different. It's not just hype. The pieces are falling into place in a way that savvy investors can't ignore. Let's start by connecting the macro dots. XRP is no stranger to volatility, but what makes May potentially monumental is a combination of regulatory clarity, institutional adoption, and network upgrades. The SEC lawsuit saga has shaped market sentiment for years, and recent developments suggest that resolution, or at least significant progress, may be on the horizon. This alone can shift the narrative from uncertainty to bullish momentum. But that's just one piece of the puzzle. Institutional interest is another crucial factor. Reports indicate that major financial players are quietly increasing exposure to XRP, attracted by its speed, low transaction cost, and growing adoption for cross-border payments. Unlike other cryptocurrencies, XRP has a real-world utility baked into its network, which institutions find particularly compelling. As more banks and payment providers announce integration, the narrative shifts from speculative asset to a viable financial instrument. Technically, XRP has been forming patterns that often precede significant upward movements. The last few months have shown a consolidation phase, creating a base for what traders call a springboard setup. This phase is critical because it signals that selling pressure is easing while demand builds quietly under the radar. The market is waiting for a trigger, and May could provide exactly that catalyst. Global economic conditions also add another layer. With inflation stabilizing and interest rates showing signs of plateauing, capital is flowing back into risk assets. Cryptocurrencies, particularly XRP, are positioned to benefit from renewed investor appetite. May is not just about XRP itself. It's about timing within a macroeconomic window that historically favors digital assets. Moves forward, network-level developments are key to understanding this month's potential. The upcoming upgrades in liquidity protocols, cross-border settlement improvements, and potential partnerships with fintech giants indicate that Ripple's technology is ready to scale. These upgrades may not make headlines every day, but they increase the network's efficiency and usability, which in turn can drive adoption and ultimately price movement. We've laid the foundation: regulatory clarity, institutional demand, technical consolidation, macro tailwinds, and network readiness. All these elements converge to suggest that May could be transformative for XRP. In the next part, we'll dive into specific catalysts and announcements that could trigger a major market move, connecting each dot for a clear picture. It's essential to focus on the specific catalysts and announcements that could make May 2026 a defining month for XRP. While broad factors like regulatory clarity and macro trends set the stage, it's the tangible, actionable developments that often determine price action in the short term. One of the most anticipated catalysts is the series of partnership announcements Ripple has lined up with global financial institutions. Over the past year, Ripple has been quietly negotiating with major banks and payment providers to integrate its on-demand liquidity (ODL) solutions. These partnerships are not just symbolic, they represent real-world adoption of XRP for cross-border payments, which can directly influence market confidence and drive demand. Another key trigger is potential news surrounding regulatory developments in the US and other major markets. Investors are closely watching for any statements, settlements, or clarifications that may resolve lingering uncertainties regarding XRP's status as a digital asset. Even subtle updates can shift sentiment dramatically because they signal to both retail and institutional players that XRP is entering a new phase of legitimacy. This makes May a particularly critical month, as the market is attuned to regulatory cues more than ever. Network-level enhancements also serve as catalysts that shouldn't be underestimated. Ripple has been implementing upgrades aimed at improving transaction speed, lowering costs, and increasing liquidity efficiency. As these improvements are rolled out and publicly communicated, they can spark renewed interest among traders and institutions alike. Awareness of such technical milestones often coincides with market movements, especially when combined with broader adoption announcements. Global macro developments continue to interact with these XRP-specific catalysts. For example, cross-border trade volumes are on the rise, and businesses are seeking efficient ways to move money internationally. XRP's position as a low-fee, high-speed alternative makes it a natural choice for these flows. Every announcement of a bank or fintech platform going live with XRP-based solutions contributes to a perception of tangible utility, reinforcing bullish sentiment in the market. Community engagement and social momentum also play a subtle but important role. Social signals, ranging from institutional endorsements to influencer commentary, can amplify the impact of official announcements. When Ripple's developments are shared across platforms and discussed in active crypto communities, it creates a feedback loop where market attention intensifies, often preceding price movements. In May, this effect could be magnified as multiple announcements converge within a short time frame. It's worth noting the timing and sequencing of these events. Ripple seems to be strategically spacing announcements and upgrades to maximize attention and adoption momentum. Rather than a single isolated event, May bring a series of interlinked developments that cumulatively create a powerful bullish narrative. Investors and traders who understand this sequencing can anticipate the impact more accurately, positioning themselves for potential gains while monitoring risk carefully. The key catalysts for May 2026 include new institutional partnerships, regulatory clarity updates, network upgrades, increased adoption for cross-border payments, and social momentum amplification. Each of these factors matters, but their convergence in a single month creates an environment ripe for significant market movement. As we move into Part 3, we will examine technical indicators and chart patterns that align with these catalysts, connecting how price action may respond when these events unfold. Understanding this interaction between fundamentals and technicals is critical for anyone looking to navigate May strategically with XRP. It's time to examine the technical landscape for XRP and understand how it aligns with the catalysts we discussed earlier. While partnerships and regulatory clarity create the narrative, price action and chart patterns often reveal the market's reaction before news even hits the headlines. Over the past few months, XRP has been consolidating within a well-defined range, forming what traders call a base accumulation zone. This phase occurs when selling pressure subsides and buying interest quietly builds, creating the potential for a breakout. Consolidation is a critical stage because it reflects both market confidence and the absence of panic selling, setting the stage for significant upward momentum. One key pattern to watch is the ascending triangle formation that has been emerging on the daily charts. An ascending triangle typically signals accumulation by stronger hands and a likely bullish breakout once the price surpasses resistance levels. In XRP's case, repeated tests of the upper boundary of this triangle without severe pullbacks suggest that buyers are steadily absorbing supply, a strong indicator that momentum is favoring the bulls. Technical traders often see this as a precursor to a sharp upward move, particularly when reinforced by fundamental catalysts like regulatory clarity or institutional adoption. Volume trends also provide critical insight. Over the last several weeks, XRP's daily trading volume has gradually increased, signaling heightened interest and participation. Rising volume during consolidation is generally interpreted as a sign that the market is preparing for a directional move. Coupled with support from larger investors and institutions quietly accumulating XRP off-exchange, these patterns hint that a breakout could be imminent, potentially aligning with the sequence of announcements expected in May. Support and resistance levels are equally important to consider. Historically, XRP has reacted strongly to key psychological and technical price points. Analysts are closely watching areas that previously acted as both floor and ceiling, anticipating where buyers and sellers are likely to converge. Strong support zones suggest that even in minor pullbacks, buying pressure is likely to re-enter the market, reducing the risk of prolonged downtrends. Resistance levels, when approached during high-volume periods, can act as trigger points for accelerated gains once breached. Another technical indicator worth mentioning is the Relative Strength Index, RSI, which measures momentum and overbought or oversold conditions. Currently, XRP's RSI is in a neutral to slightly bullish range, suggesting that the market is not overheated and has room for upward movement. And this creates a favorable setup where a combination of positive catalysts and technical strength could fuel a sustained rally, rather than a short-lived spike. Traders often view this alignment as an ideal entry opportunity because it reduces the likelihood of immediate exhaustion. It's important to consider XRP's performance relative to other major cryptocurrencies. Correlation analysis shows that XRP tends to move in tandem with broader market trends, but unique events like partnership announcements or regulatory milestones can decouple it from general market sentiment, creating isolated surges. In May, with multiple catalysts converging, XRP could experience such a decoupling, where it outperforms peers due to a combination of technical readiness and fundamental support. The technical landscape for XRP in May is highly favorable. Consolidation, ascending triangle patterns, rising volumes, strong support zones, neutral RSI levels, and potential market decoupling all suggest that XRP is poised for a breakout. When these technical signals intersect with the fundamental catalysts we discussed in Part 2, the potential for significant price action becomes clear. In the next part, we will explore market sentiment, investor psychology, and community momentum, connecting these softer but equally powerful dots to anticipate how the broader XRP ecosystem may react in May. It's crucial to understand the role of market sentiment and investor psychology in driving XRP's potential moves this May. While fundamental catalysts and technical patterns lay the groundwork, the way investors perceive these events often determines the speed and magnitude of price action. Crypto markets, more than any other asset class, are highly sensitive to sentiment shifts. Positive news, strategic partnerships, and regulatory clarity can trigger a surge of optimism, while even minor doubts or rumors can cause sharp pullbacks. For XRP, the alignment of sentiment with May's catalysts could create a self-reinforcing cycle that propels the asset forward. Community engagement is one of the most influential factors in this dynamic. XRP's global community is both passionate and well-informed, actively analyzing developments and spreading awareness through forums, social media, and dedicated groups. When these communities rally around a positive narrative, such as successful bank integrations, regulatory updates, or network upgrades, the effect extends beyond retail investors. Institutional participants also monitor these sentiment signals, using them as confirmation that XRP is gaining momentum and that market confidence is strengthening. The result is a feedback loop where adoption, sentiment, and price action amplify one another. Investor psychology also plays a key role in May's potential trajectory. After a period of consolidation, many XRP holders are now waiting for confirmation that the market is ready to move. The combination of pent-up demand, anticipation of announcements, and technical setups creates a scenario where buyers may enter aggressively once a breakout begins. This is particularly relevant for those who understand behavioral finance. The fear of missing out, FOMO, and herd behavior can drive sharp, rapid price movements once momentum builds. In the case of XRP, these psychological factors could turn otherwise moderate gains into an accelerated rally within a compressed time frame. Another dimension to consider is sentiment relative to other cryptocurrencies. XRP's unique position as a utility-driven digital asset allows it to decouple from broader market swings when positive catalysts occur. For example, while Bitcoin or Ethereum may experience sideways consolidation or minor corrections, XRP could gain independent traction if May brings favorable regulatory news, high-profile partnerships, or adoption milestones. This separation from general market sentiment enhances the potential for outsized moves, making May a particularly strategic month for traders and long-term holders alike. Social metrics and online engagement trends provide tangible evidence of shifting sentiment. Monitoring spikes in search interest, social mentions, and community discussions often gives early clues about market attention. In past months, periods of heightened social activity have frequently preceded significant price action for XRP. As May unfolds, a surge in discussions around partnerships, ODL adoption, or regulatory updates could act as an early warning signal that the market is gearing up for a major move. Timing is everything in sentiment-driven markets. XRP's momentum may not depend on a single announcement or event, but on a convergence of signals across fundamentals, technicals, and community enthusiasm. When investors, traders, and institutions collectively perceive May as a turning point, even small triggers can cascade into larger market reactions. The key takeaway is that sentiment is not just a byproduct of price action. It is a driver in itself, capable of amplifying or suppressing the effects of fundamental catalysts. May's potential for XRP is strengthened not only by partnerships, regulatory clarity, and technical readiness, but also by positive sentiment, strong community engagement, investor psychology, and social momentum. When these softer yet powerful factors intersect with concrete catalysts, the probability of significant price movement increases substantially. It's time to connect all the dots we've discussed so far and assess what May 2026 could realistically hold for XRP. When we combine regulatory developments, institutional adoption, technical patterns, macroeconomic tailwinds, and community sentiment, a clear narrative emerges. XRP is positioned for a potentially transformative month. Each element reinforces the others, creating a scenario where positive momentum could accelerate rapidly once key events unfold. The convergence of catalysts is particularly important because it increases the likelihood that market attention, buying interest, and price action align in a synchronized way, magnifying overall impact. Looking at potential outcomes, one scenario is a breakout above critical resistance levels, fueled by strong volume and broad market participation. Technical indicators such as the ascending triangle support this possibility, and historical price behavior suggests that XRP tends to react strongly to cumulative positive signals. Institutional participation could amplify this move, as large-scale purchases often trigger follow-on demand from retail investors and momentum traders. In this scenario, XRP could see sustained gains over the month, with new price ranges established as the market digests fresh news and adoption milestones. Another plausible outcome is a measured rally with intermittent pullbacks, reflecting the natural ebb and flow of investor psychology. Even with favorable catalysts, markets rarely move in a straight line. Short-term profit-taking, minor regulatory uncertainties, or market-wide corrections could temporarily slow momentum. However, if the underlying fundamentals remain strong, these pullbacks can serve as opportunities for investors to enter positions at more favorable levels, potentially reinforcing the overall upward trend in the medium term. It is also important to consider the possibility of unexpected volatility. Crypto markets are inherently sensitive to sentiment and external events. Global economic shifts, sudden regulatory statements, or high-profile market interventions could trigger abrupt movements in either direction. While all the indicators we've examined point toward a positive outlook, savvy investors must remain aware that volatility is an integral part of the XRP market. Understanding risk management, position sizing, and timing is essential to navigate these fluctuations effectively. In essence, May 2026 represents a convergence of opportunity for XRP. The combination of regulatory clarity, institutional demand, technical readiness, macro tailwinds, and community momentum suggests a higher probability of meaningful upward movement. However, it's crucial to approach this analysis with balance. The market can be unpredictable, and even the most promising setups can encounter obstacles. Staying informed, monitoring developments closely, and applying disciplined trading or investment strategies are key to making the most of this period. Moves forward, as we conclude this series, it's important to include a financial disclaimer. The content presented in this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It is not financial advice, investment advice, or a recommendation to buy or sell XRP or any other digital asset. Cryptocurrency markets are highly volatile and carry significant risk, and individual investors should conduct their own research, consider their risk tolerance, and consult with a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and viewers are responsible for their own financial decisions. May 2026 could be a pivotal month for XRP, with multiple catalysts potentially aligning to create significant opportunities. By understanding the full landscape, from regulatory clarity and partnerships to technical setups, market sentiment, and community momentum, you are better equipped to evaluate what the month may bring and how to approach it strategically.